better, according to ESPN's Damian Woody.
It's going to look a lot more of Jalen Hurts underneath center. It's going to have his back to the defense. We're going to play a lot more between the numbers. But a lot of the passing game with the Philadelphia Eagles with A.J. Brown was outside the numbers. That's what they were doing. And so now we got to think, okay, is Jalen Hurts going to be comfortable doing something that he really hasn't been doing throughout his whole career? And now you've taken away a 1A and alpha wide receiver in A.J. Brown.
Hurricanes Golden Knights open up the Stanley Cup Final tonight, 8 Eastern on ABC. Carolina 12-1 this postseason. Vegas 12-4.
Hey, it's Michelle Smallman, and coming up Wednesday, everyone will focus on Wemby versus Jalen Brunson, but I'll tell you why the NBA Finals will be defined by the role players. It's on SportsLine, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Follow every pitch of San Francisco Giants baseball on 1430 ESPN Fresno. From first pitch to the final out, hear every inning, every big swing, and every Giants moment all season long right here.
Devers high drive. Right center field. Out of here.
Keep it locked on 1430 ESPN Fresno for San Francisco Giants baseball. Brought to you by Citizens Business Bank, Fashion Furniture, FFB Bank, and Lee's Air.
Whoever it was that said rainy days are followed by rainbows and pots of gold definitely wasn't in the raisin business. Rain in the wrong places at the wrong time can be a disaster, a crop disaster, and a financial disaster. In short, it can mean there's no payday for all of your labor. Fortunately, it doesn't have to be that way. The solution? Crop insurance for raisins. Bowman & Associates, your local crop insurance specialist, has been writing raisin crop insurance for over 40 years. Bowman & Associates is one of the largest crop insurance agencies in the state and the nation. Call Kent, Quinn, or Blake Bowman today and let them design a policy customized to suit your individual growing needs. Time is running out to purchase rain insurance. With the unstable weather patterns and current low premium rates, now is the time to call Bowman & Associates at 499-2020.
Bowman & Associates, your crop insurance specialists.
California Department of Insurance license number 0F64178.
When you think of California business machines, it wouldn't surprise me if you automatically thought 3-cent color copies. It's something CBM has become locally famous for. But now there's something else business owners are calling about: business phone systems. It's a beautiful thing. Copiers, printers, office phone systems, all with one simple call to California Business Machines. 559-225-5570 or online at cbmsolution.com.
The Donald P. Dick Super Saver Program is an annual maintenance membership for your home's heating and air conditioning. A certified HVAC specialist will service your system at no additional charge. They'll make sure to keep everything running right, including filter replacement, refrigerant checks, airflow checks, and electrical inspections. Improved efficiency prevents breakdowns and saves you money. Call 255-1644 for Donald P. Dick AC and Solar in Fresno.
A Central Valley tradition like no other. Celebrate Independence Day with the Fresno Grizzlies. Celebrate 250 years of the USA with entertainment, baseball, and the largest fireworks show in the Central Valley. July 4th at Chuck Chansey Park, presented by Chuck Chansey Gold Resort Casino and ABC 30. These seats go fast. Get tickets at FresnoGrizzlies.com. Fresno Grizzlies baseball. It happens here.
Welcome to A+ Signs.
Thanks. Yeah, I need some custom exterior signs for my business.
Great. What's the name of your business?
C+ Signs.
Wait, you own a sign company?
Yep, C+ Signs.
And you want us, A+ Signs, to make your signs?
Yeah, I need them really fast, and we can't touch our turnaround times.
We are kind of known for that.
For signs that stop traffic, drive traffic, and even direct traffic, call A+ Signs.
Remember, A+ has great technicians to service and repair signs, too.
Yeah, we got a guy, but he's afraid of ladders.
This Father's Day, celebrate the golfing dad in your life with something special from Roger Dunn Golf Shops. Whether it's new clubs, golf gear, apparel, or the perfect gift card. And sometimes it's not just about the gifts. It's about the memories, the time spent with Dad. Walking through Roger Dunn, trying out putters.
When I was little, my dad used to take us to Roger Dunn all the time. It was the highlight of my childhood memories to go golf in the little putting green. So much fun.
And remember, dads are number one at Roger Dunn.
everybody. Welcome to the SportsLine, the Bulldog Hour. Or alongside, as always, we'll take you to 3. Ended up preparation. Phil Benatti's fine show behind the bench, normally 3 hours, as was the case yesterday. Shortened to an hour today as the Giants get ready to wow them again in Milwaukee. Giants played horribly in Coors Field and then scored 19 runs to try to salvage at least some dignity before they left Denver. Then they go to Milwaukee and give up 12 yesterday. So we'll see. We've talked about this. Tony Vitello has to really wonder exactly why he left Knoxville. Hopefully it's going to get better, or he's going to get a chance to go back pretty soon. He and Buster Posey may have to have a conversation here real soon. Eddie, that's my way of promoting the Giants tonight. I'll tell you all about the schedule because the Giants and the A's are both on our air on 1430 and 790 tonight. The A's are in Chicago to play the Cubs. I'll get to the schedules a little bit later on, courtesy of Ed Dunkel and his outstanding business, Precision Civil Engineering, remind you every day, planning, land surveying, civil engineering, landscape architecture, construction management. It's all there under one roof. More information, 449-4500 or precisioneng.net on the web. As always, Ed does great work for his alma mater, Fresno State, fundraising-wise through the Lyles College of Engineering there on campus. The goal to unify athletics and academics to provide more funding resources to students. It's worked beautifully over the years, and a lot of those grads had to work for Ed at Precision Civil Engineering, one of the best engineering companies you're going to find anywhere on the planet. Jackson with me today. He is waiting patiently on the Lee's Air hotline. Mark that down because you can always give Phil a call on that number as well, 559-320-1430. We'll get to Jackson in just a moment, but first our other 2 lead dogs want to spend some time with you, including the aforementioned Lee's Air Plumbing, Heating, and Roofing. Terrific local people. They've been in NorCal, in Central California since 1981. You see the avocado green and blue trucks all over the place. Anything you need, Central Air Plumbing, Heating, or Roofing, give them a call, 825-5337, 825-LEES, or leesair.com, where you can go ahead and schedule your appointments on the web. And they allow me the time every day to tell you about the weather, and I will tell you that it is a little bit warmer than normal, but we've talked about it over and over again. This time of year, you never know. When my sister graduated from high school back in 1973, it was cold and windy on that June 9th. Exact same time 2 years later when I graduated, and maybe it was the gates of hell opening up, it was blistering hot at the same time of the year. So you're never sure what you get. You can get triple digits. You can get temperatures in the 80s. We're kind of in the middle of this. We're a little bit past the norm temperature-wise during the 7-day, but it certainly isn't as hot as it can be. So it's, by and large, pretty pleasant. The lows are in the low to mid-60s. I'm going to fall to the 50s for a short amount of time in the 10-day. But as far as the immediate forecast, 95 today, mostly sunny throughout the week. 95 tomorrow, 94 on Thursday, 96 on Friday, and then we do fall 90 and 86 Saturday and Sunday, and 88 on Monday. And then in the extended, by this time next week, we're back at 92, 93, 93. So nothing to complain about in the 10-day. The winds are going to be around 10 miles an hour, and the usual proviso, if you're around the waterways, please be very careful. And one more time, and I know it's not as hot as we're going to face with the temptation of jumping in the rivers and everything in July and August, but we keep mentioning this because the tragedies are always there, seeming like every weekend we have something during the middle of summer. It may be tempting, but those waters are a lot colder than you think. The currents move a lot more quickly than you think, and you can get yourself in big trouble. So no matter where you're at, including your backyard pool, be careful, but in particular, stay away from the rivers if at all possible. Anyway, thanks everybody at Lee's for allowing us time. Again, leesair.com, 825-5337, 825-LEES. Final reminder, it's courtesy of a longtime friend and outstanding businessman, Joe Cruz, Superior Pipe and Stainless Supply. Joe has been in business now for 26 years. He's at 4529 North Marty Avenue in Town Suite 103. He's also been a benefactor at Fresno State for over 3 decades. Need anything in regard to pipe fittings, valves, sanitary fittings, food grade and chemical hoses, suction hoses, anything. It's right there for you. Tremendously family-friendly in the approach that Joe has. He's there. Gabe, who works for Joe, is there as well. More information on the web, superiorpipeusa.com, or Gabe has a direct email, gabe.sbs@gmail.com. Again, you can give a call at 266-7473, which is 266-PIPE. If you stop in at 4529 North Marty Avenue, Town Suite 103, have the face-to-face meeting. If you're someone who's having an issue, particularly in regard to a valve, maybe you're a plant maintenance person, might be a tanker delivery service operator, could work around a boiler, maybe you're at a dairy, anybody who's having an issue with a valve, you know this. If the valve goes down, your business can take a tremendous financial hit. So stop on in or give Joe or Gabe a call. Tell them what your issues are. If it's a minor issue, they'll keep you up and running and seamlessly. If it's a major issue, they'll get started on it immediately. Same-day estimate, same-day service, and get you back up to full song before you take that catastrophic hit. It's the personalized touch that has made this such a successful business over 25-plus years. And after Joe addresses what you need business-wise, if you have a few minutes, he will tell you what he has done in the way of fundraising for Fresno State, and we'll tell you right now the best avenue is to head to GoBulldogs.com, the main website for Fresno State. There's a donate link at the top. You can't miss it. Click on that. Take you to different areas of potential donation. Bulldog Foundation has a link there. Club Red is under that header. That's for former student-athletes that want to get involved. The major giving societies also have their links. That would be the Green Bee Society, Myers Champion Circle. Then under Ways to Give, Valley Co-op, the matching funds grouping is there. Valley Fueled is there. And then the sports clubs where your money goes directly to a given sport. For instance, Quarterback Club for football, Timeout Club for men's basketball. Jack Fertig on the board of directors, Timeout Club, be with me tomorrow to talk basketball. He has said they'd love to see more members. Doesn't cost that much. It's a great social organization. In addition to the meetings where you get some inside information about the basketball team, Jack has said for more info, give him a call directly if you like, 559-287-3305. That's his cell. Call him in the middle of the night. He's fine with it. I call him at 3 o'clock in the morning all the time, and he said, hey, you know what? Bring it on. Everybody give me a call. You might want to wait a little bit, but Jack is always available for you, or you can hit him up on his email, ferdyjack@aol.com. Anyway, there's also a link there for the Dugout Club for baseball and other men's and women's sports under sports clubs. It's a great way to get involved, and it doesn't cost very much money at all. And then finally, the last link just has the word more there, and it's there for more information. Tickets and parking for all events on campus, the ways to order your tickets through iPhone or Android or whatever you might have, and just generally speaking, the one-stop shopping area to tell you everything going on at Fresno State. And as we mention every day, we are less than a month away from 1430 and 790 with Chris and the entire gang being the flagship of Fresno State Athletics, and that means Bulldog Sports Enterprises there, the true partnership between a local entity and Fresno State to try to drive things financially forward at Fresno State. And if you want more information, contact anybody at the station, Enrique or Chris, Nico or Ryan or anybody. Go to 1430ESPNFresno.com. More information is there. We look forward to our relationship once again with Fresno State, and we'll be the voice of both men's and women's sports very shortly as we roll into the pack. Anyway, thanks to Joe Cruz, Superior Pipe and Stainless Supply. Thanks to Ed Dunkel, Precision Civil Engineering. Tell them more about these schedules and everything that Ed has to offer a little bit later on. And thanks, as always, to our buddies at Lee's Air Plumbing, Heating, and Roofing. And right now, apropos, on the Lee's Air hotline, 559-320-1430, our de facto co-host, the king of the media in the local vicinity, nationally and internationally. And I'll get it right this time. Men want to be him. Women want to be with him. I had it the reverse the other day. It is Sir Jackson Moore. Jackson, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Tony. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. Dolphins want to swim with him. He is the most interesting man in the world. You still go by that? Is that you and the guy? Because I know you got the guy with Dos Equis. You're Tres Equis, and that has to do with your former adult film career. Am I right about that?
Oh, gosh.
Yes. went by Long Jackson Moore. I don't know what that means.
Oh, no.
But you could explain it if you'd like. Would you like to explain it? No, you don't. I think that means that you spent a lot of time explaining things to people. Isn't that what the moniker was all about? I think so. I just called you Miles. That's all I called you. That was all there was to it. All right. You never know, do you? You like your intros, don't you, Jackson? Just say yes, because otherwise I'm never going to stop. As long as I know they're irritating you, we're going to continue doing this. You're aware of that, right? Like you haven't figured that out over these many years. All right, listen. I want to start right away. Where are we at? Are you still have 50% off the board? Where are you at here?
We actually don't have the 50% anymore, but now it's 60%. So if you waited, you can get in now and save a little extra on it.
Even better. I asked 50, and you say, actually, I think, oh, no, maybe I spoke out of school. It's actually – so I don't want to discourage people, but if you wait another 4 months, is it going to be free? I'm just wondering.
Well, the caveat is we don't have the dollar for a month anymore. So
okay.
We're getting you an offer to join annually, a little incentive, but we're not going to let people get in here for the dollar for all the recruiting soup in June. We do have the full price monthly, which if you do get in on that, you will be eligible for the Paramount Plus. And with Josh Hokett fighting this month, that might be something you might be interested in. But either way, I hope people go get in on one of the deals and get in on all the recruiting info.
Yeah, I kid you, and it is a great, great deal. And the Insider board has terrific info. So whether it's 50 or now 60%, I mean, don't wait, for goodness sake. And I don't think it's going to 70. This is my hunch. But jump on it right now as we are. You actually have started the countdown, right? Where are we at? 94 days? Where are we at here, Jackson, before kickoff?
Yeah, I believe 94 days. It felt like a big deal to just hit 100, and the last couple of days just flew by. So it keeps on going like that.
Well, it won't be an August start, but it will be a Friday night, September 4th start at the Coliseum in Los Angeles. And we, of course, will spend a lot of the summer talking about that game. Remind people again that it was supposed to also be the opener for USC, but they had the I can't really say last-minute ad, but late ad of that San Jose State game. And you and I were talking about this before, Jackson. There's a good and bad to it. The bad is that it gives USC 4 quarters to sort things out, and generally speaking, the biggest leap you make is from game 1 to game 2, because those errors of omission and commission that come with game 1 usually are corrected by game 2. So it gives the Trojans a chance to test run a few things. The good news for Fresno State is it gives you a chance to see the Trojans for 4 quarters. Is it pretty much a draw, or is it a substantial advantage for SC playing first?
You know, I think usually it's an advantage to play first. I think my hypothesis with USC is that they want to make a statement game 1, so I'm kind of glad the Bulldogs are game 2 for them. I'm hoping they get all their energy out against San Jose State and have to, on a short week, try to find a way to do it again against the Bulldogs, which I know either way the Bulldogs will be big underdogs, but maybe that'll help a little bit. I just know there's a lot of pressure on that program. Number 1 recruiting class coming in, some key transfers too. They want to make some noise right out of the gates. And I think for Fresno State, it's tough to be in that environment week 1, especially. We've seen it in the past. It might take a quarter or 2 to kind of settle in, but hopefully USC has a little trouble matching their energy in a second game.
Well, in regard to the pressure on for Lincoln Riley and company, there's no doubt that he's living in that big mansion. He's living the life, but it's going to be the old NFL, right? Not for long if he doesn't start winning big, because whether it was the Pac or in this case the Big Ten, SC does not like being an also-ran, and it has not been what they had hoped it would be. By the way, their baseball team, of course, was able to survive at College Station, and they will go into the Super Regionals. I did want to ask you about that, Jackson, but let's wrap up the initial talk about football here, and then we'll get to other things. As far as where the Bulldogs are at right now, we've talked about the fact they weren't hit with a lot of attrition during the off season. as you look right now, what are we seeing? I asked this last week as well about commits as far as those that are evidently coming and ones that have gotten away. What is the ledger showing you right now?
Yeah, as far as the 2026 roster, the Bulldogs did host a junior college camp on Sunday, and we talk about differences in weather. I've been out there where I think a lot of those junior college kids didn't ever want to come back to Fresno. It was so hot, and this Sunday was very pleasant. There was a chance for the Bulldogs to maybe find a late addition or two, or identify some junior college recruits for the next class. I believe they've got maybe a roster spot or two open. That's been the idea this offseason, to maybe fill in a last hole here or there, but not a lot of movement there as of now. We'll see if a name pops up in the summer. Most of the effort is going to the 2027 class. The Bulldogs had 9 official visitors over the weekend. 3 of them were already committed. Based off the social media activity, it sounds like they may have gotten as many as 4 of the other 6 to commit, which would be a really nice haul for this class and this program. So far, we only know 1 who is committed publicly. That's Jason Williams out of Sacramento at Grant Union High School. Had offers including Arizona, Oregon State, Colorado State, San Diego State. So pretty good get for the Bulldogs there. An intriguing player. He only played 6 games last year. Within those 6 games, had about 600 yards, had a 98-yard touchdown run. So there's a chance maybe there's more to his game that didn't get on film last year that the Bulldogs are getting in on early with his process, not having a full season over there. 6 foot 180, so a larger back, fits a lot of the boxes Fresno State's looking for. And then they're in on quite a few other prospects. We know local receivers Rolando Jefferson and A.J. Williams were both in town this weekend. It would be great to score on either one of them, hopefully both, of course, for Fresno State. And they were seeing a few other recruits that they were hoping to see come to campus later this month. They're taking visits also to other schools, and a couple of them have come off the board. I know the local tight end, Jamie Spurgeon, hasn't committed, but looks like he's going to go down to Texas Tech or Cal, and looks like the Bulldogs are pretty much out of that one. Not a huge surprise. Owen Urasic out at Bakersfield Christian, he committed to Washington State while he was visiting Pullman over the weekend, but he also has some family ties up there. So still quite a few Valley targets up for grabs, and you just kind of hope they don't get wowed somewhere before they make it here.
We've talked about the symmetry, and it definitely is symmetry that we have right now, football-wise, in the Pac, because you have 8 schools, and they are all state universities. Is that good news for Fresno State? Bad news in regard to recruiting, Jackson? You bring Oregon State and Washington State in. They are not necessarily in glamorous locales. I'm not knocking Corvallis or, the Palouse up in Pullman, but they are schools with legacy and pedigree behind them. And then we know that you took the cream of the crop, if you will, recruiting-wise, with you when you left the Mountain West. Is it a wash for Fresno State? More difficult to recruit, easier to recruit? Where are we at here? Or does it all come down to the Don Ohlmeyer line? No matter what the question is, the answer is always the same: money. Where are we at?
Yeah, that's what I'm curious to see still. Just a big part of the Pac-12, probably the greatest part for Fresno State, is that there was a lot of recruits that would go to back in the day, BCS conference or a power conference, and it's hard to fault some of the decisions that were made there if they have a certain level of school after them. But it was really a heartbreaker when you had a local recruit, or maybe even a Bay Area, Southern California kid who seemed like a great fit at Fresno State and would go to Washington State or Oregon State instead to be in the Pac-12, when it felt like there really wasn't that big of a difference between the programs other than the opportunities they were being afforded. So you get that out of the way. Now, if Oregon State and Washington State end up having more NIL dollars, then they might very well just be the new version of that. If there's a kind of a equal recruitment of a kid in California who wants to be a Bulldog or a Beaver, and he can get more money being a Beaver, it could very well be the same type of thing. So hopefully the Bulldogs don't fall behind or get left behind in that aspect, because everything else being equal, this is a big evener of the playing field with those 2 schools. The other challenging part, though, is that it's really changed the pecking order. You see the recruits that the Bulldogs are going after, almost every single one is Fresno State, San Diego State, Oregon State, Washington State. Some of them have Boise State. Some of them have Colorado State. It's pretty much the same 3 to 5 schools for almost every recruit, it feels like, at this stage, where those battles are probably going to be tougher to win compared to when you had someone with the final 3 that was Fresno State, San Jose State, UNLV. Presumably you're going after a higher level of talent, but it just seemed like you had more Mountain West peers and final schools that the Bulldogs typically won out on, whereas now it's going to be a little more even and tougher to get down to the end of some of these recruiting processes. So the more Valley talent, the better. That's definitely Fresno State's edge in all this. There's a lot of talent locally in this class, and it looks like there could be even more for next year. So if they can keep a good amount of them home, it makes it easier to round out the class. I also think the Midwest recruiting is just a big hack for Fresno State in this recruiting process, because so many of those kids seem to have a very similar mindset and don't mind the distance or the environment that they're moving from. And it's almost like a second valley to recruit from when you look at places that aren't being recruited as hard as the big SoCal, NorCal areas. So if you can get a lot of Central Valley kids and a lot of Midwest kids, there's not a lot of spots left to fill. So I think they've got a good blueprint, as long as they don't get outspent somehow. But really, there's not a lot of money going to freshman recruits at the Pac-12 level. Most of that money is going to transfers and attainment. But you never know how it's going to inflate over the coming years, or maybe if it goes the other way with some help from the government.
Well, look, first of all, if we're talking about survival on the planet, I'd much rather be a bulldog than a beaver, unless I'm going to be in the water, all right? So I'm just saying, but I guess maybe the paycheck makes a difference. I will tell you this, your point is well taken about the leveled nature of the playing field. There isn't a lot now to choose from. You can't bang the drum either direction about this player wanting to come here because his option is limited to a school that may not, within the conference, have the kind of following. The flip side also applies. Nobody in the conference has a substantial recruiting advantage. You don't have SC or UCLA in your conference, etc. You should be able to go toe-to-toe with most. Then it does come to the money issue. And by the way, to James and Clovis, who asked me about any misgivings in watching Kennedy pitching for $1 million a year with Texas Tech. Hey, all I can tell you, James, is Texas Tech spent a lot of money to bring her in, and they have now, for the second year in a row, been given an opportunity to play for a national championship. It's something that the Red Raiders were never able to do before. So as much as I say it's galling that someone left $600,000 behind in a Stanford education, she made the proper call, and I would assume the folks at Texas Tech, who had never sniffed this before in regard to a national championship, have to feel as though the $1 million last year and the $1 million this year, money well spent. Jackson, do you have the same mind to say, even though NIL really wasn't supposed to be about just paying somebody to come in, again, it was supposed to be your performance made you a celebrity in your community, and then you were rewarded for that recognition. If you're looking at it from a pragmatic standpoint and you're in Lubbock, do you say money well spent and deserved money for someone who is one of the best players in her given sport? Any misgivings about it at all? Or is that, I hate to say it, what NIL has turned out to be inadvertently, and then it's what it's supposed to be in this day and age? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it's the old NIL plus transfer portal. When those two collide, you get these bidding wars.
That's right. The deadly
from
combination.
The Texas Tech perspective, from Texas Tech's perspective, absolutely money well spent. I mean, they got a lot of money coming in for the NIL front, and they're spending it. Their football team was in the college football playoffs thanks to a lot of money that they spent on that end of things. So I think probably Texas Tech might be, as far as this new landscape, the greatest benefactor of any of the programs. Well, when I look at recruits, I'm usually looking at the Big Ten, the SEC, let's see maybe a couple of ACC schools that are in those ranks, and now Texas Tech basically is the kind of the one Big 12 school you look at as one of those programs that's going for anybody and everybody just as much as anyone else. So they've been a huge benefactor. It's just tough for the other side of the coin. Even Stanford, who you would have never thought would have had an issue with money, especially against Texas Tech, loses a star pitcher, someone that would have been one of the most famous faces on the farm hadn't she stayed. But you got to adjust, and kudos to Texas Tech for having the opportunity and the ability to take advantage of it.
Well, to your point, we talked about it during the football season, and you referenced their great success. They had heretofore, I think, been in the hundreds, like 128 or whatever, in recruiting defensive linemen. Then they're number 3 at the end of the year, and that had to do, of course, with talking about benefactor, someone who has a $4 billion war chest. Now, that wasn't the individual that spent the money to bring Nyjah Kennedy across. That was an individual couple that brought that softball player in. But it is indicative of the kind of money that Lubbock, Texas has now. And look, no knock against Texas Tech as an academic institution. It's a very good school, particularly in certain areas. It is a very good technical school, hence Texas Tech. But there's no doubt when you go from, say, 128 with defensive line recruiting nationally to number 3, there had to be a difference, and the difference was a retired oil man with $4 billion. Now, he's not spending it all at Texas Tech, but he is spending a pretty good chunk, and he's getting reward from it. And as we've talked over and over again, Jackson, there's always the transactional nature of this, which is I put money forward, I expect results. I get results, I'm happy. I don't, I'm unhappy. But it's more complicated when you're talking about college towns, particularly if you grew up around it, where just, if you can afford it, just being the big man on campus, being the guy at the tailgates that everybody bows to, being the one that when he walks or she walks in the door, they say, wow, you're the one who's going to make this happen for us. That ego fulfillment can go a long way. And I'm not saying success on the field is a mere bonus. It is a necessary but not sufficient condition. But there's no doubt, as opposed to someone who invests professionally in a partnership group, like, say, with the Warriors, with that monster group we see behind the bench, right, the moneyed aristocracy, the Silicon Valley, they expect championships. I think collegiately it's much more complicated. There are a lot of guys that don't mind spending their money if they are the big man around campus and they're in their 70s or 80s. You've got a lot of schools, Jackson, that have that kind of benefactor. We don't have it here, and in all fairness, most don't. Is there anybody in the conference right now, the PAC, that you look at and say from an individual standpoint, this person is going to make a difference financially within the confines of the grouping of 8 that is currently the football group for the PAC? Anybody at all at any school?
Not to my knowledge, there doesn't seem to be. It just seems like there's collaborative effort with certain programs. Obviously, at Oregon State and Washington State, there's a lot of pressure to try to stay above all the newcomers that are coming into the conference with all the advantages they've had. And you look at their budgets and the amount of money they were spending before the Pac-12 changes. So they've been doing the best they can to try to keep that afloat, or at least not decrease it too much across the board. I don't think they've been very successful at it. I think budget will probably be pretty similar once everything settles down. But then you look at Boise State, of course, with the success they've had consistently. There's been a lot of efforts there in the facilities to raise those funds, and now that goes to NIL. They were able to keep Ashton Genty. Utah State had a big collaboration of donors to just get them in the Pac-12 in the first place after the initial group left. We know San Diego State just got the stadium up. It would certainly be nice for Fresno State to get some similar help from the state. But you just look at some of the individual efforts, and it's one of those, if they take off further, could be tough to keep up with. And I think you brought up a good point as far as getting return on investment. Texas Tech is definitely getting that. But I don't think a lot of donors that have gone through it, but have had similar experiences. You talk about Troy Aikman at UCLA, helps bring in a quarterback. He's gone, barely even acknowledged. So I don't know how much that can keep up, but it might be a little more of a challenge for Fresno State if you got some of these other schools that maybe don't necessarily have one major donor that's easy, but they seem to have some coalitions of money coming in to at least give them some sort of leg up.
Well, again, that Aikman situation is a great point, and we've talked about it, and it has to do with not only the money you give, and one more time, Troy Aikman can certainly afford it. It wasn't that. It is the fundamentally transactional nature of all of this stuff that still has some humanity behind it, meaning, yes, you're giving money to try to help a school, usually your alma mater. That's the case with Troy Aikman, and we know that, Troy was born in SoCal, grew up mainly in Oklahoma, and from Oklahoma back to UCLA. So you can say that roots-wise, a California kid who played at a California school, that it's partially true. He's also a guy very much based in the Midwest and in the Southeast, however you want to look at Oklahoma, which is basically in the center of the states, but still has that southern feel to it. So there is that loyalty issue that may be more prevalent there than at UCLA. But the bottom line is, and Aikman said it, he would have liked the individual that he spent a lot of money to bring in to be a little bit more appreciative of the opportunity. He said the person not only took the money and took a hike, didn't even say thank you, and because of it, Troy made it clear he will not give again. He said, I will pull from my alma mater, UCLA, but I'm not giving any more money, because he was bothered not by the money he gave, but rather the reaction to it. And I know that there are certain places where it is much more cut and dried, much more cutthroat, but I want to bring it, Jackson, because we'll be spending a lot of time, obviously, talking football over the summer. We have 94 days until we're going to have something on the field to talk about. But I want to bring it up in regard to the Zayon Collins situation here in town. People have asked me about this. I've made some comments on air about it. When Zayon came in and you and I talked about it, Vance had given me a call before it happened, explained the situation. We went over this. He explained that the university, from the president on down, had decided to take a chance on someone who certainly had a problematic background because of what happened, admittedly as a young man, he's still a young man, in Las Vegas, and that they were going to take a chance on him. Now, I realize that Zayon Collins and his advisors, his dad, everybody else, they're looking for the best deal possible. But I had felt then, in regard to the humanity of things, that to have that egregious a situation in front of you, a life-altering situation, to have a university, particularly a state university, to take a chance on you and to be, in my opinion, less than fully engaged in putting forth maximum effort to attend practices, to be ready, to be engaged, to be grateful, if you will. And I know that's a word that maybe isn't really applicable anymore in college sports, but to recognize that people stuck their necks out for you from the university president down, to not embrace it and to not say, you know what, I bleeped up big time and I'm damn lucky that my life did not get turned upside down. I cost somebody else his life, and I cost his family great heartache and misery that they'll carry for the rest of their life. I am going to try to lead my life in as exemplary a way as I can. I have not seen that from Zayon Collins here. I don't wish him ill, but I don't want to see him back because I believe he has let down the very people that stuck their necks out for him. Now, this has nothing to do with how much money he's being spent, Jackson, but it does come back to a little bit of what Troy Aikman was trying to say. Some of these athletes need to be appreciative of the situation they're in. This isn't professional sport, though it's being treated like that. And I do get bothered when someone is handed an opportunity to resurrect his life, and to me is not doing everything possible to do just that, and is not only letting himself down if he continues, but is letting down the people around him that really took that extra step, that extra mile for him. How do you feel about that kind of transactional behavior?
It changes the equation a bit because there was some of that in his first year, too. Of course, there was, at the time, the gambling situation. Now, the part that he was involved in obviously wasn't too big of a deal. It was reinstated very quickly. It wasn't a great look, but nothing major. It's really bringing him in the first place, of course, felt like a risk, but that was really the only thing that happened over 2 years that drew any headlines. And I think that part, as well as some of the issues behind the scenes, led them to look elsewhere last offseason. Didn't quite find a guy they wanted, and I'm not sure Zion's market was so great that he could go elsewhere. So it was a reunion, a chance for a do-over a little bit, and still some of the same issues in year two, which, again, nothing headline news or anything, but probably even if you're a season ticket holder at the Save Mart Center, maybe you didn't even notice. But a couple of those road games, probably some of them on the Mountain West Network, he was not starting, was benched for some of those games due to being tardy to practice or for some other things. So, again, not egregious, but I think for this system, for Coach Wahlberg, for that position in general, it's hard with such roster turnover year after year, but there is trying to find a bit of culture and commitment, and especially a leader at that particular position. So I think they're looking for that from KJ Perry. I know they're working on bringing in another point guard. I'm not sure at this point that there's a large need for Fresno State to bring in Zion. They're not in a spot where they missed that point guard. I don't know if there's even a roster spot for him if he wants to come back. But, again, not a huge worrying situation, but something they feel like they can better the team if maybe they get a little bit of a different personality and a different skill set in. And, hopefully the best for Zion, that he finds another place and is able to cash in some on his presumably last year of eligibility, and that both sides could come out at a good point here.
Well, it's very well said, Jackson. And look, you're right. He has not done anything beyond the pale since he's been here. I'm just saying that, and this started right at the top, the university. You had people in his corner, he was already here, who went to the hierarchy of Fresno State and said, we think he would be well served to get an opportunity. That moved down to the coaching staff with the university president, everybody in line already. They said, okay, let's do it. It wasn't like bringing in some surefire, hotshot athlete that was going to turn the program around. That was not the case. It was something that everybody hoped would be mutually beneficial. There's still time for him somewhere. I'm just saying that more than anything else, he's going to let himself down if he doesn't embrace opportunity now, because not everybody gets the kind of second chance he got. You very easily could have found yourself in a very bad situation for a long, long time in regard to incarceration, depending upon how you were treated by the judicial system and certain judges. And I think if you get a chance, you should embrace it to the fullest extent you possibly can. Maybe he will. So far, he has been somebody who hasn't, in my opinion, taken this opportunity seriously enough, and I am deeply bothered by that. But that is up to him to sort this thing out, and hopefully he's going to understand the very finite opportunity that he has wherever he might end up. And that's just my way of answering the people that have asked about it. And I've been pretty consistent about this after the minor missteps started, because I thought if there was one individual who should be on the straight and narrow, crossing every T, dotting every I, here it was Zion Collins, because of the chance that he was afforded and the people that went to bat for him to get that opportunity. But, then again, it's up to every individual, I guess, to decide what is right and wrong. But society can have a tendency to look at you a little bit differently. All right, Jackson, we are too quickly out of time. I did want to ask you very quickly, because we'll get back to football, of course, on Friday. The regionals for baseball, very interesting. Florida State loses at home. A St. John's gets in. A Troy gets in. Are we seeing I'm not going to say little guy, but are we seeing the less than formidable long-term powers get an opportunity? Is that nice and democratic, or is it an illusion, and ultimately when the super regionals are done, it's just going to be the halves around. Where are you at with this thing? And by the way, West Virginia winning yesterday against Kentucky means that Cal Poly will have to travel to Morgantown for the super regional. Go ahead.
There'll be at least one Cinderella to root for. Little Rock and Troy.
Yes.
Two of them will be facing each other,
true.
so that's nice. At least we guaranteed one spot. We'll be rooting for Cal Poly too. I think. I don't know if talent's more dispersed. I know that's what we're seeing in football, but it's nice to see at least there's a format here where there's a lot of upsets happening. It was fun to watch. Even the teams that didn't make it out of the regional, a lot of them made some noise. I mean, St. Mary's beats the number one seed, UCLA, twice, knocks them out, and they're not even advancing with the Cal Poly taking over that regional. So it's just, I think from a Fresno State perspective, knowing how much money now is going into baseball with the scholarships that Fresno State can't keep up with, the amount that's now being allowed, that schools like Fresno State or below Fresno State really in the pecking order still have a shot if they put the right team together and get hot. And it seems to me that the juggernaut teams aren't so unbeatable, but there's now, again, probably 30 or 40 teams that are viable in this format. So still tough, but it's still a chance. It was really interesting, too. There's a lot of, again, non-power conference teams that had really good resumes going into the tournament, even hosting, and they didn't come out alive of the regional round, but some of them did, and it's neat to see and have some teams to pull for if you don't have a horse in the race here.
Well, it's such compelling theater. It enables me for a short period of time to ignore the fact that money is being exchanged for all of this. But I will tell you this in closing, and I know that in Auburn, Alabama, they are sports crazy, and we've talked about it over and over again. If there's an underdog within the confines of the halves, given the relationship between Auburn and the University of Alabama, the line by the alums of Alabama, University of Alabama, and that is that they own the hotels and the Auburn grads are the maids and butlers and things around the area, that kind of thing, all right, which is less than kind and also not true, although there is an element, I guess, of truth to it, that we talked about how late they had to start because of weather. On a Sunday night, for goodness sake, they were starting something that was pushing up on midnight. I think it was 10 o'clock local, and it actually started later than that. And the stands were about three-quarters full. Now, that is a true college town, Jackson, Auburn, Alabama, when you can play. And it wasn't going to be the deciding game. Auburn had to win it to force the next one the next following day, which they did win yesterday. But can you imagine starting something that late with bad weather and having that many people show up on a Sunday night? Pretty extraordinary, I thought.
Yeah, I was really excited to see the environments. Even there were some other late night games that didn't have great environments, but I was happy they were on at 11 p.m. They still have some meaningful sports to watch, but some of them were pretty special. Of course, was watching Oregon and Oregon State, and I know the Ducks put about 1,000 students in their stadium, and it was like the football student section was basically reacting to every strike and every hit. It was pretty awesome to see. And then there's other programs that it's just like that normally in these big environments. So it's neat to see the sport grow, and maybe find a different atmosphere than the pros with some of the translating the football excitement over to the baseball stadium. I think there's a chance for that to keep growing.
Well, I'm just going to ignore a lot of the stuff that bothers me and enjoy stuff on the field as softball wraps up. And by the way, unfortunately, they end up directly opposite the NBA Game 1. ABC has the Game 1 tomorrow, and ESPN has Game 1 of the best of three. So it's kind of tough, the national championship opposite the NBA, but that's how it works. And then, of course, with baseball, great theater now as we head to the Super Regionals. And I'll leave you with this, Paisan. You're right about Troy and Little Rock, except Little Rock is not that small of a market. You're aware of that, right? So I'm just saying. It's not like Ithaca or Slippery Rock, right? But still, I get your point. So will any Cinderella really have a chance? Probably not, right? So, yeah, I guess Cal Poly.
It's funny rooting for the. I'm there rooting for the little guy, quote unquote, Milwaukee. So those types of things
right.
happen in
The little guy in Milwaukee against Auburn. Right, exactly. Auburn, Alabama, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm rooting for the little guy, but in college it is applicable. And by the way, I would love to see Cal Poly get there. Kentucky had a chance. That game was tied 5-5 late. If Kentucky would have won, Cal Poly, I think, had a great shot the way things worked to have been hosting instead. And then, speaking of other places, Morgantown, it was late at night, and they were just going, you would have thought they won the national championship. People are hugging their kids. They're coming out of the stands. I'm going, gee whiz, you guys are just headed to a super regional. Take it easy. I guess you take what you can get in Morgantown, West Virginia. I love it. I love it there. Don't send me emails. Don't threaten me. If you want to threaten somebody, threaten Jackson Moore. I'll give you his email address. Just give me a call. Jackson, appreciate it, my friend. I hope people do jump on that offer of the board. I will talk to you on Friday, my friend. Always appreciate it. Take care.
You too, Tony. Thank you.
All right. De facto co-host Jackson Moore. Again, check out the insider part of the board at barkboard.com. Take a break. Come back, talk about the schedule. Hand it off to Phil, his great show Behind the Bench. Normally 3 hours, 1 hour today because we got to make room for that juggernaut that is the San Francisco Giants. You can't stop them. You just have to get out of their way, ladies and gentlemen, because if there's a team that can win 1 out of every 3 games, it is the San Francisco Giants. I'll tell you about the schedule after this as the Bulldog Hour, for better or worse, continues on this Tuesday on Central Valley Sports Leader, 1430 ESPN.
Cyber criminals stole $10 trillion from U.S. businesses last year. Did you know that 75% of businesses hit with ransomware do not survive? Is your company protected? Could your company survive a real-time cyber attack? Get a free consultation from M-Cubed Technologies today. Our team of cyber professionals are here to help and protect you from this real threat. Don't fall victim to cybercrime and risk losing your business. Contact M-Cubed Technologies today at mcubedtechnologies.com.
Spring and summer weddings, prom, graduation. Patrick James is your premier destination. Elegant tuxedos and suits for purchase or rental. We offer full-service tailoring on site, custom clothing offerings, and the West Coast's first Martin Dingman Lodge and Johnny O Shop and Shop. Please come in and experience the exemplary customer service and quality apparel carefully selected for you from all your favorite brands. Patrick James in Fig Garden Village or patrickjames.com. Started in Fresno and serving the Valley since 1962.
Hey, football fans, you know what makes a team great on the gridiron? It's when all the players do their part to make everything work. That's what Superior Pipe can do for your food processing plant, chemical plant, boiler service, or tank truck. Thanks to their reliable and durable pipes, valves, and fittings, you can be sure that everything that makes your team perform is running strong. And with their same-day service and competitive pricing, they'll help make sure all your players are doing their part. Call now at 266-PIPE or visit online at SuperiorPipeUSA.com today. Go Dogs!
Every day, the choices you make matter, especially for your business and the community around you. When you choose to bank local with FFB Bank, your deposits don't sit on the sidelines. They help fund local businesses, create jobs, and strengthen the neighborhoods you serve. With business accounts designed for you, local decision-making, and a team that understands your goals, FFB is here to help you grow. Because your success is everyone's success. Be the one who builds community while building your business. Visit ffb.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Opportunity Lender.
On the show, handed off to Phil's outstanding show Behind the Bench. Normally 3 hours, shortened to 1 hour today, as the Giants will again have a 4:10 pre and a 4:40 first pitch from Milwaukee, and the Giants will try not to give up 12 runs today. They said they scored 19 to get 1 game out of 3 at Coors, and then got bombarded late last night. Late in regard to the time of the game, 8th inning or so, it got out of hand, but they weren't in it before then anyway. So we'll see what happens. And to Gino, yes, Harrison on the mound is galling, and it's something that Buster Posey may have to answer to. A very hasty trade, and it may have been a very, very big mistake. It wouldn't be the first time the Giants prematurely dealt a pitcher away. It would be the millionth time since the time I was a kid in the 60s watching the Giants give up on somebody too soon. We'll see what happens tonight. Anyway, tell you about the schedule for both stations right now, courtesy of Ed Dunkel and his great business, Precision Civil Engineering. Again, planning, land surveying, civil engineering, landscape architecture, construction management, all there under one roof. For more information, 449-4500 or precisioneng.net. If you want to check out things on the web, Ed, tremendous benefactor at Fresno State through the Lyles College of Engineering on campus. The goal is always to unify athletics and academics to provide more funding resources to students. It's worked beautifully over the years, and Ed has stepped forward not only at Fresno State but throughout the Valley to make life better for everybody around here. And Precision Civil Engineering, one of the very best civil engineering companies you're going to find anywhere in the world. And a lot of those grads from the Lyles College of Engineering on campus go to work for Ed at Precision Civil Engineering. As far as the lineup goes, again, the Giants 4:10 with a 4:40 first pitch on 14:30 against the Brewers, a very good Brewers team. And the A's are in Chicago, 4:30 Dupree, 5:05 the first pitch from Wrigley Field. We'll see if the A's can right the ship a little bit. A very tough weekend against the Yankees, and the Mariners are red hot, and the A's temporarily in first place, no longer in first place in the AL West. As far as the show lineup, mentioned Phil normally 3 to 6 Monday through Friday with his great show Behind the Bench, including Thursdays at Fashion Furniture with our good friend Rod Avediki in El Paso across from River Park. Great conversation of Phil's show on Thursday, some good eats as well, and always every day the best furniture you're going to find anywhere, nothing like it in all of California at Fashion Furniture. And speaking of somebody who does such a great work in sponsoring events, Rod at Fashion Furniture has been front and center for so many years to help out with athletics across the valley, and we always commend him for his great work in this great valley. Paul Metters has a fine show on Saturday mornings with us, long-running show from First String Sports, 10 a.m. to noon, Central Valley Sports Report on 1430. Everything for the station, 1430 ESPNFresno.com. You get the live links and podcasts there. Get the app, makes it a lot easier to listen. You can reach me, TDAD1 at ATT.net, TDAD, the number 1, at ATT.net. And again, guys, I can't get back to you privately, but I appreciate the emails. And one more time, Gary up in Atwater, thanks for the emails. Gino in Visalia, thanks again. Robert here in town. Eddie, I'll try to give you a call when I get a chance, one of our great friends. And thanks to everybody up Clovis Dave, all of you that continue to email in, Benito in Reedley. I will get back to you guys over air the best I can, and hopefully I'll get things sorted out so I can get back to emails once I can fix this back, which we've only been trying to fix since 1966. So I'm sure I'm making headway on this, no doubt about it. Final reminders here very quickly. We will have the NBA Finals beginning tomorrow on 790, and we'll stay right with it until we get a winner, whether it's the Knicks or the Spurs. Those games always on ABC, of course. By the way, speaking of ABC, National Hockey League, Stanley Cup Finals, Carolina and Vegas, those two original six, they are starting tonight, and so we'll have a Stanley Cup champion about the time we also have the NBA wrap-up. And the final note here, thanks, of course, to Ed Dunkel, Precision Civil Engineering, Joe Cruz, Superior Pipe Stainless Supply, and our friends at Lee's Air Plumbing, Heating, and Roofing, talking about the regional between Troy and Little Rock. It is the Trojans against the Trojans, ladies and gentlemen, and through it all, the main Trojans, USC, actually in the Super Regional as well. So there are 3 chances that a Trojan may find itself, that's right, I guess with a wooden horse, in Omaha next week. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow with Jack Ferdig, talk all about basketball. Have a great one. Phil coming up, then the Giants, A's over on 790 on KFIG Fresno.
Prices on steel and material